All right, great ministries across the world, across our state, right here in our community and right here in our congregation. That's the church. You all are being the light of the world, and now we're going to hear Jesus talk about that to 5,000 men or so by the Sea of Galilee, of course with their wives and children. The Sea of Galilee, as I mentioned before, looks a lot like Cave Run Lake, and there's a big clearing on the north side, grass, and so picture thousands of people sitting down by the sea, going to hear the Lord. Would you stand and let me read from Matthew chapter 6, 14 to 16? Jesus said to the crowd, and he says to us today, "You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. The church is the light of the world. Not hidden, clear, visible. I was reading a little bit by Pastor Colin Smith. He took a trip to Chicago to the Art Institute. Big art institute. 4 hours to see it. He makes a plan. His wife is Karen also. We need a plan. So in 4 hours, they see the entire art museum. Every room, every painting. Weeks later, a real-life artist comes to visit them in their home. And she says, "Well, what'd you think of the Art Institute?" "Oh, wonderful. We saw everything." "Oh, no. You can't see everything. When I go to look at 3 or 4 different things. I spend time with a painting. I think about why the artist painted it, the meaning, the message. And that grabbed me, this story. How often have we zipped through Matthew 6? You're the salt of the earth. You're the light of the world. So let your light shine, and on to prayer and fasting and giving. I'm only allowed to preach on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words. You are the light of the world. Monday morning, I got with the Lord. "Lord, what's the message on this week?" And you're thinking, Monday morning, don't you take a rest? Well, for me, part of resting is being prepared, being ready. So, Lord, what's the message? Last week, Psalm 50, "Call upon me, I will deliver you, you shall glorify me." All right. How do we glorify you? Bring into my mind that they will see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Bing, let's go to Matthew, first part of Sermon on the Mount. You are the light of the world. When I read that, that's all I needed to read. And I sat there in my chair. You are the light of the world. Well, I know that. Each one of us. No. Jesus is preaching to 10,000 Jewish people by the Sea of Galilee. He is speaking, you are the light of the world. I mean, the chapter starts, he went, he sat down, he opened up his mouth, and he taught them. You are the light of the world. And the Lord took me back there. Thankfully, I have seen the Sea of Galilee. I have a picture of me standing there with that grass about this tall. That day, there was a double rainbow at the sea, a real blessing. And so I could picture it. Picture 5,000 simple people sitting, hungering to hear the rabbi teach them, not as the rabbis in Jerusalem, but as the real thing. Real words, real authority, real love. Real love. And after he gives the Beatitudes, and I tell you tonight's message is on blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. What does that mean to be poor in spirit? I'll tell you tonight, it means you are so empty of spirit, you learn to depend on God. Only God has spiritual life. And when we learn that only in his kingdom is there life, real life. So after the Beatitudes, then Jesus says, you're the salt. You're the light. A city on a hill can't be hidden. Everyone in that day built their cities on a hill. True or false? Jerusalem is on a hill. True or false? Mount Moriah, mountain of the Lord. Yes, true. It's on a hill. It's 2.5 miles up from sea level. So when they say we go up to the house of the Lord, they're literally climbing up the mountain. We understand that. Karen and I, we like to hike. We like to go up mountains to get a view, to go up the mountain to the Lord. And they would sing psalms and scriptures to each other as they went up. Some of the psalms are called the songs of ascent. They're going up the mountain to worship the Lord. Now we don't travel here up the mountain, but musically, the opening song is we're beginning a song of ascent. Today was Build My Life, to go up to worship. Same idea, same thing. So here's Jesus with at least 10,000 adults looking at him, and probably another 5,000, 10,000 children, 20,000 people looking at him. If you've been to Ichthus or New Song, you can picture Ichthus would run about 20,000 people, if I remember right. That size crowd. And he speaks. You are the light of the world. So when we go back in time to Jesus' institute of amazing truth, we're not even going to get to the other verses. We're going to spend time with you are the light of the world. Now I set in here somewhere a little lantern that my granddaughter Lexi loves it. Verlene, I don't think it made it to the sanctuary, but it's a little lantern, a camping lantern like this. They make them for propane, they make them for battery. It's in the booth. There it is. Michael took it because he wanted his light to shine in the booth. Thanks, guys, for finding it. I got as far as the booth. You know, if you have children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, if you can lay out several toys, they will go pick the one they want. Well, ever since spending time in the motorhome last year, afraid the electric would go out or it had no electric, Dan Tees loaned me this. I referenced it last week, but this is a lamp that Lexi loves. I don't know why. She will go in the bedroom, she will go find this lamp. When there's no batteries in it, she knows it takes 4 batteries, big batteries, and she helps me put them in. And then she carries the lamp out from the bedroom, out to the dining room table. We're going to have lunch. She brings the lamp, she puts it on the table. She asks me, "Granddaddy, can you see now?" I could see perfectly by the daylight, but in a 3-year-old's mind, 3-year-old Tuesday, "Oh, now I can see, Lexi. Thank you for the light. Thank you so much." To her, this is a special light. It goes into the horse stalls with her. It goes into the closet that she's made a little hut. It's a special light. So I want to talk about a special light today. Not that one, but a special light. The Jews had it. Let me give you 3 things about the Jews, how they had it. First, Here's how the Jews, remember, Jesus is talking to Jewish people. He was not talking to Gentiles, not talking to Greeks. He's not talking to Romans. He's talking to his own people in Galilee. He grew up with these people in Galilee. First thing I want to say is the Jews knew the real God. He says to them, you are the light of the world because you know the real God. The Jews knew him. They knew him. They had a spiritual light, not like that or not like these. They had a spiritual insight, wisdom, experience, a light. The Word, the experience, the patriarchs and the prophets, they knew the real God. Abraham knew God personally. He was called a friend of God. Moses knew God personally. He knew his name, Yahweh. David knew God personally, a man after God's own heart. Mary knew God personally on Christmas morning. She looked at his face. Peter knew God personally. When the great catch of fish was brought in, he knelt down and looked at God and said, "Depart from me, God, I'm a sinner." Of course, that was Jesus. The Jews knew the real God. But it's one thing to know the real God, to know who he is. And it's another thing to worship him. True or false, in the New Testament, the demons knew who God was. True or false? True, they knew exactly who God was. Did they worship him? No. That was Satan's fall from his position. That was Satan's condemnation. He did not worship God. He wanted to be worshiped himself. So the second thing that the Jews had to be the light to the world is they worshiped the real God. They worshiped. Noah, when he got out of the ark after months in the ark, he built an altar and sacrificed and thanked the Lord. From Wednesday night study, Genesis 12, when Abraham came into the promised land, he built one altar. Then the next day he moved his tent, camped someplace else. He built a second altar. Why are these men building altars? Because they want to honor and worship God. The day came for Solomon to build a temple in Jerusalem. David didn't build it, Solomon did. And on that Mount Moriah, on that mountain Jerusalem, that beautiful temple, the Jews could come and worship God. And God's presence was there, and the Holy of Holies was the presence of God. When Moses would come out of the tabernacle, in that version of it, his face was glowing with a light that wasn't like that light. It was the glory of God, a spiritual light. I want to call it a God light. God light. And the Jews, they worshiped. Now we know all this. I haven't told you anything you don't know. But in that day, worshiping the real God was one thing, and worshiping one God was something. Some of you all start in college at Lindsay. Some of you all in high school, you may study Western civilizations. You're going to study cultures of the Greeks and of the Romans, of the Babylonians. You might learn that the Babylonians had 7 gods that could decree things. The Greeks had 12 major gods and then undergods. The Romans had 12 major gods. The Egyptians had 2,000 gods. Is it any wonder that God sent plague after plague, defeating Egyptian gods, proving that he alone is God? Those Egyptians never got worried until when? Remember, God said to Moses, "Cast down your staff." It turned to a snake. Pharaoh wasn't worried. Wise men come here. Sorcerers come here. They come out, throw down their staffs. Those staffs turn to snakes. We can do that. Nobody was worried until Moses' snake ate the Egyptian snakes. Then the sorcerers got worried because they knew that the God of Moses and the God of Israel was greater than the gods of Egypt, and they didn't have the power. You see, God will exalt his name. And the Jews worship the real God. Thirdly, they not only worship the real God, they reveal the real God. And I kind of stepped into that already. When Moses' staff revealed God, the plagues revealed it, the Red Sea revealed it. The birth of Jesus miraculously revealed it. His death, well, the healings, the miracles revealed God. The resurrection revealed the real God. Peter, a Jewish man, revealed the real God when he said in Caesarea Philippi, Jesus says to them, "Who do men say that I am?" "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." And a Jewish man revealed God, the real God. We owe an incredible debt to the Jews. They have shown us who the real God is. And then Jesus called Paul. This is kind of the last message in a series of sermons on laid hold. This one is laid hold to shine. Jesus laid hold of Paul to shine the gospel. Isaiah 60 verse 3, "The Gentiles shall come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your rising." What's he talking about? The Messiah in Israel. Isaiah 9:2, "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light." Matthew 4:16, "The people who sat in darkness have seen a great light." The Jews were shown that light. They rejected it. Paul was shown that light. He accepted it, and he preached it to the Gentiles. To the Gentiles. And as a result, we have the Savior of the world. We know who the real God is. We worship the real God, and we reveal the real God. When Jesus, 2,000 years ago, said, "You are the light of the world," he meant for those 20,000 Jews to be spreading his gospel all around the world. They didn't accept him. A few did. Peter, James, John, Andrew, Paul, they accepted. They were Jewish men who preached the gospel. But we didn't hear it. You and I didn't hear it from a Jewish evangelist. We heard it from a Gentile, whoever your preacher was or the person that led you to Christ. We now, here is what Jesus said that Monday morning, sitting in my desk. He showed me the Jews are no longer the light of the world. They have the Word. They have the Old Testament, but they don't have the light. Who now is the light of the world? Who now is the light of the world? You are the light of the world. The church of Jesus Christ is the light of the world. We know the real Lord. We worship him, we reveal him. Karen's questioned me, why are we doing healing is in his hands? Is this service about healing? Not first of all, but second of all, it's about healing. First of all, it's about love. You know, could I quote one of the first contemporary songs ever written, 1975, Ray Rep? Played it on guitar when I was 15, and I tell you the truth, if you're in the youth group and there's another cute guitar player in that group, you learn to play the guitar. That's how I learned, Tom. 15. Now, Karen wasn't. If that was Karen, I'd have learned 5 instruments to get in the band. I could play drums, bass, guitar, keyboard. But I met her later. Ray Rep wrote a song in 1975. Said, "They'll know we are Christians by our love." I am preaching to the choir. I am preaching to the love choir. 4 different ministries reaching out to people and loving people. You understand this, you know this. And if one thing heals, it's love. Love covers a multitude of sins. Paul said when he really got it, let me show you a more excellent way. The way of love. The way of love is the God light. That's the God light. Somehow, someday, I'm going to talk to Lexi about a God light. She already has a great imagination and can understand. God's light, God's love, God's healing, God's place. I close with this. America today, I look for Toon and Charles. In their generation, 81% of them trust other people. They just think people are generally out for other people's good. But in our teens generation, in our 20-something generation, at least half of them don't think that. Don't believe that somebody is out for my good. They really believe they're out to take advantage of me or take something from me or use me. Trust in America has gone way down. So we have to build it back up. One act of love at a time. Building trust. Y'all are good at that too. So I don't know if I open the altar so much as I open the congregation. God, for your love to fill us, to heal us, to give us that glow that Moses had, to give us a courage to face the things that we're going to have to battle with, to give us the love to love the people that are struggling. But most of all, Father, to reveal that it's all about you. You're the source of love. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for they find out that only you can fill our heart. If there's one who needs Jesus, please come and let Wes or I pray with you. But I think the invitation is for the whole body. You are the light of the world. Don't hide it. Don't cover it. Continue to let it shine. The altar is open for any kind of prayer. Or, you know, something new I thought of this morning, Wes? Look over the church. If someone needs prayer but you don't want to come to the altar, raise your hand and Wes or I will come to you, or Peggy or Summer, or someone. We'll just come to you and we'll sit with you and pray with you right there. I'm particularly informal. Sorry I'm using the stool. I'm still resting up some, but God's given us strength. I praise Him. If you need help, you're in the right place. Karen.